Millions of kids struggle with learning, processing, and social emotional difficulties. These challenges interfere with their ability to reach their full potential. Dr. Karen Wilson is here to help. Her extensive background in pediatric neuropsychology and higher education have prepared her for this unique mission. Listen as she delivers content to inform, educate, and empower parents and educators. This will enable you to identify challenges that kids face and get them on the road to achieving their full potential. This is Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus.
Welcome to another episode of Diverse Thinking, Different Learning, a Child Nexus podcast. For those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Karen Wilson, and I'm your host. Now, today I'm diving into a topic that's more important than ever: loneliness in children and adolescents. Now, we've all probably felt lonely at some point in our lives, but for many young people, loneliness has become a chronic issue. And students with learning and thinking differences may face unique challenges in this area. Now, earlier this week, I saw some data showing slight improvements in youth mental health. But the reality is that the battle against loneliness and its associated risks is far from over. And that's why I thought it was important to do this episode, because it's critical that we understand and address this issue head on. So before we kind of jump in, I want to read you a definition of what loneliness is, because I think we have an idea of what we think it is, but we may not know exactly. Loneliness is the state of distress or discomfort that results when one perceives a gap between one's desires for social connection and actual experiences of it. It's an unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation. So let that sink in for a moment. Now, in 2018, before the pandemic, Cigna's chief medical officer for behavioral health shared a startling statistic. Loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, making it even more dangerous than obesity. So this isn't just a minor issue. It's a health crisis that we need to take seriously, particularly for our neurodivergent students who may already feel isolated due to their unique challenges. Just last week, the CDC released new data from their youth risk behavior study. For the first time in over a decade, there was a slight decrease in the number of high school students reporting feelings of sadness or hopelessness, from 42% in 2021 to 40% in 2023. Now, while this 2% decrease is a step in the right direction, clearly we have much more work to do, especially when you consider that more than half of teenage girls, 53% to be exact, still report feeling persistently sad or hopeless. And for neurodivergent students, the feelings of sadness and isolation may be even more profound because of difficulties in forming and maintaining social connections. So as we think about these statistics, I think it's important to understand why social connections are so important for young people. And this is where I get really excited, because it's not just an opinion. It's not just my opinion. It's science. Our brains are wired for connection. As humans, we have a biological need for connection. Research by Matthew Lieberman has shown that the same part of our brain that processes physical pain also processes social pain. So what that means is that the pain of social rejection or isolation is not just in our heads. It's not just in our kids' heads. It's a real, tangible experience that our brain treats similarly to physical injury. For students with learning and thinking differences who may already struggle with social interactions because of differences related to autism or ADHD, the impact of loneliness can feel and be particularly severe. They may find it harder to interpret social cues, initiate conversations, or maintain friendships, and that makes them more vulnerable to those feelings of isolation. This biological drive for connection doesn't diminish just because it's more challenging. In fact, it can make the lack of connection even more painful. Enter social media and screen time. Now, I've talked about this on the podcast before, and I will link to episodes on social media and technology and its impact on mental health in our young people. But social media can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows us to stay connected with others. It allows young people to stay connected with their peers. But on the other hand, it can amplify feelings of loneliness and isolation, especially when it leads to cyberbullying or the pressure to present a perfect life. The U.S. Surgeon General has even issued an advisory on the impact of social media on young people's mental health. I've mentioned this before on the podcast. And what he did was highlight the importance of guiding our children's online interactions carefully. Again, for students with learning and thinking differences who may rely on online platforms for socialization, the negative effects can be even more pronounced if those interactions aren't supportive. So once we understand the deep connection between our biology and our need for social interaction, we can explore how loneliness and social connection impact learning and performance in school. There's a strong connection between social connection and academic success. When children feel connected and supported by their peers, they're more likely to engage in school and perform better academically. However, loneliness can lead to disengagement, making it harder for students to focus, to participate, and succeed in school. Students who might already be navigating the complexities of their learning challenges can find this added layer of social struggle particularly detrimental to their academic progress. And again, for neurodivergent students, heading back to school might also mean facing environments that are not always understanding or accommodating of their needs, which can contribute to anxiety and, again, feelings of loneliness. So understanding these challenges is key, but what do we do about it? How can we support our children, especially those who are struggling to build those social connections? How do we ensure that they thrive? What are practical strategies that parents, educators, and communities can implement to help reduce loneliness and foster a sense of belonging? Well, one of the most effective ways to combat loneliness is by building strong family bonds. Research shows that regular family activities, open communication, and showing affection can go a long way in helping children feel connected and supported. A strong, supportive family environment can be a critical buffer against the challenges that some students might face in social settings. We can also help children develop crucial social skills, such as empathy, communication, and conflict resolution. This can be done through role playing, through group activities, and even through more structured social skills training programs. For some students who may need extra help in navigating social interactions, these skills are particularly important. And by giving them the tools they need to interact confidently with others, we can help them build and maintain meaningful relationships. Schools can also play a vital role in fostering a sense of belonging among students. A couple episodes ago, I talked about inclusive education, inclusive practices such as anti-bullying programs and social emotional learning curriculums. Both are things that we've talked about on this podcast. They can create a safe and supportive environment where every child feels valued. When schools actively work to understand and accommodate the needs of all students, it helps students feel more connected and feel less isolated. Bullying is a significant contributor to loneliness, and schools must take a proactive stance in preventing and addressing bullying, and not just by having a week where everybody wears a red shirt and says that this is anti-bullying week or anti-bullying day. It's about promoting kindness, promoting respect and inclusivity, creating a culture where every student feels safe and supported every single day. Students with learning and thinking differences who are often more vulnerable to bullying need these protections in place to ensure they can focus on learning and socializing without fear. As I said earlier, digital communication can be both a blessing and a curse. So again, and I can't say it enough, it's essential that we monitor our children's online interactions and guide them in using social media responsibly. This includes educating them about the risks of cyberbullying and encouraging them to use the internet in ways that foster positive connections. Guidance here is really critical. It's also important to teach children how to cope with social challenges, such as rejection or loss, which are normal parts of life. Helping them develop resilience and emotion regulation skills can empower them to navigate these experiences more effectively. Remember, it's okay for kids to feel emotions like anger, but they need to learn healthy ways to manage and express those feelings. For neurodivergent students, these skills can be life-changing, helping them to better cope with the social challenges that they might encounter. Finally, if an adolescent is showing signs of severe loneliness or social anxiety, it's important to seek professional help. Therapists, counselors, other mental health professionals, we have a number of them in our Child Nexus community. They can provide the support and strategies needed to help children overcome these challenges. This is especially important for students who may benefit from specialized support tailored to their unique needs. I really feel that schools and communities have a responsibility to implement policies and initiatives that support youth mental health. And there are some really great examples out there of schools that have successfully created safe and supportive environments for their students. And I think we can learn from them and apply those lessons in our own communities. Addressing loneliness and supporting youth mental health really requires a multidisciplinary approach. This means educators, mental health professionals, and families all working together to create a network of support for our children. The CDC and other organizations are working hard to increase health education, connect young people to health services, and make school environments safer and more supportive. But this is an ongoing effort, and there's still so much work to be done. For young people with learning and processing challenges, this collaborative approach can ensure that their unique needs are understood and met, and reduces their feelings of isolation and helps them thrive. So as we move forward, it's important to remember that combating loneliness isn't just about reducing isolation. It's about creating environments where every child feels valued, connected, and supported. So again, whether you're a parent, educator, community leader, you have the power to make a difference in the lives of young people. By fostering strong relationships, promoting inclusive practices, and providing the necessary support, we can help our children build the social connections they need to thrive. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who might benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support helps us continue these important conversations. Thanks again. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus. For more resources, visit us online at childnexus.com.